I'm a regular runner, and I try to run 5K usually 2 or 3 times a week, and I've been doing that for 15 years or more, so it's not a new activity for me. But about 6 to 8 months ago, I developed a pain at the upper end of my left hamstring, where the hamstring tendon joins the sit bone, the ischial tuberosity. And I've spoken to a physiotherapist who's convinced it's high hamstring or proximal hamstring tendinopathy, or I think tendinosis is another word for it. I've been foam rolling it. I've been not running uphill, because I think running uphill makes it worse. I've been doing very, very, very gentle walks and runs, but it still won't go. I've actually taken a whole period of 6 weeks off of running, and it still won't go. And I wonder if this is something that maybe osteopathy can help with, or if there's any other advice for it. Should I be actually looking at maybe getting some kind of sort of minor surgical intervention, like just like an injection, a steroid injection, or something like that? So I'd like to know what's the best thing for persistent recurring high hamstring tendinopathy, which won't go even after rest, and I've now had for 8 months.
Okay. Well, to be honest, it's an interesting problem. The problem is actually often worsened by rest, which sounds a bit of a conundrum when you're thinking perhaps when you are resting it feels better. The problem that tends to happen, maybe you can share that a little bit, when you go back immediately, it can actually be even worse immediately after the rest to start with, or build up quite quickly again. So the rest itself doesn't actually change things. What tends to happen is there's a considerable contraction in the whole belly of the hamstring. Although the tension point where you pointed out under the buttock, the sitting bone, is where the pain is, and that might be a tendinopathy or tendinitis at the point of attachment. The tension and stretching on the hamstring, and actually to some degree it's actually worsened by stretching the hamstring. That's also a bit of a difficulty to deal with. What one needs to do is actually to reactivate the lower hamstring to take the pressure off the upper hamstring. And actually, so stretching is not the way forward. Actually, one of the ways forward is actually to heat the hamstring much lower down the belly, to get blood flow back into the hamstring where it's shortened and tightened, much lower down, probably even 6 to 8 inches away from where you're feeling the pain and pulling, to release that. There's also a few techniques to actually reactivate the muscle without aggravating its attachments, which would be activation exercises, which again we could demonstrate and go through for you. But I think that's primarily where I'd address things. The other part of it is, and very commonly, because most people who are not, say, professional runners, but enjoy running and do spend, like many do, at a computer and sitting a fair bit, the hamstring shortens just from sitting position. So when you actually activate the muscle running, even if you go at it fairly gently, it's still a big shock to the system to go from a 90-degree bend sitting to opening up the gates to starting to actually run. So what tends to happen is there's an imbalance when you run between the quads, which are the front group of muscles in the thigh, and the back group. So some of the therapy towards this actually should be targeted actually also away from the hamstring, but actually to release the quad, which may not be causing pain or knee pain or anything else in the front, but actually getting more of the quad activated switches off the opposite group, the hamstring. So oddly, the efforts are probably also best placed around hamstring exercise to activate that muscle more fully, and that will get the pelvis back into balance. So, sorry to make it a long answer, but the way that the hamstring attaches to the front of the pelvis, pulling the pelvis forwards when it's tight, and the way the hamstring at the back pulls the pelvis backwards. So the quads pull forward, and the hamstring rotates the pelvis backwards. So when you stride out, if that is out of balance at one of the sides and between the front and the back, that twist and torsion maintains, if you like, this habit that doesn't go away and causes that hamstring attachment to keep re-aggravating. Was that a very long answer? Did that help understand a little bit about what's going on?
Oh yeah, it helps me understand what's going on. I mean, as I've mentioned, I've tried foam rolling, and I do that on a daily basis actually for a couple of minutes, both either side of the ischial tuberosity. But I've also done things like I also regularly do a hamstring glute bridge, where I have my heels raised up, in fact, on the coffee table edge, and my upper legs in a straight plank line with down to my shoulders.
Lying on your back,
lying on my upper back. So it's only the upper back and my feet are in contact with the.
Well, if I might then chip in, what might be quite useful is to stop doing the foam rolling, because actually foam rolling around the attachment, around that sitting bone, actually aggravates and actually makes the muscle almost contract against you. It's quite painful to do, and actually it's a bit too close to home as to where the inflammation and the irritation is. So I would actually put that to one side. The heat lower down on the hamstring is good. Now, the bridge you mentioned is a useful one to activate the glutes and the hamstrings and the quads if you do it properly and slowly. The key thing is not to hold it at the top.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you want to do is pulse the muscle slowly upwards, so you're lifting into the bridge position, lifting the pelvis, but actually slow its descent down, so you're actually actively, almost like in a breathing rhythm, activating the muscle upwards and downwards. And that actually, I would say, is a more activation type of exercise, whereas holding that bridge is actually creating more tension in the hamstring. So you want to reduce that tension, not increase it.
That's brilliant. Oh, that's exactly what I'll try. Thank you so much.